Hi, everybody. So, I actually have more of an interesting topic than just, a what's good. I know I haven't done it's kind of a thoughts with Queen Tea, I suppose. But I just got done rewatching Ugly Betty slash finishing it. I never completed the fourth and final season of the show. And with that, it really made me think about some other shows that I've rewatched for maybe nostalgic reason, reasons. Wish I could speak. It's Friday, um, and it's interesting to see how television has changed so much with how shows have, tried to depict, I wouldn't say necessarily, I'll say it, controversial topics. So, especially having such a diverse cast, in Ugly Betty, the main character is Latina. So, she is played by America Ferrera, and it's based around her, her Hispanic family. And yeah, of course, you also have, I would say, probably more predominantly white characters. But you also have Wilhelmina Slater, who is an African American woman who's very successful. Honestly, a very well written villain for television standards. And I think because it brought up a thought in my mind. A lot of shows that I've watched that have been, I would say, good quality television normally have these, I would say, different aspects to them. Yes, they're going to be dramatic. Yes, they can still be comedic in some ways, but they're also not afraid to talk about serious issues. So when, for example, Ugly Betty, she works at a fashion magazine. She's not the prettiest, she's not the thinnest, but they do talk about, like, same-sex marriage. They talk about, race. They talk about, I wouldn't say necessarily eating disorders, but they talk about image in general. And I think it's interesting to see how a show from, late 2000s show came out in 2007, 2006-ish, ended in 2010. And so how has television, whether it's a sitcom, let's face it, sitcom, or any show on a local programming channel, or even now streaming, how has that changed? And I would assume in most cases it's changed significantly. With most cases on talking about same-sex, not necessarily marriage, but same-sex couples, or even talking about if you were gay, it was so taboo. And nowadays, in most television programs, it's still, for some people, I would say, like, oh no, I don't want to talk about this. But we have to talk about it. It's a conversation that is being had. Like, it's happening to families around the world, in the US, so it needs to be discussed. And it's important too to have that representation for anyone out there who really just needs, I would say, some sort of guidance. Because as much as we want to say, like, oh, don't follow everything you see on television, or don't, listen to everything you read on the internet, this, that, and the, like, stuff like that regarding the media or like what we see on television, it helps in some ways for us to grasp certain things. It helps us conceptualize what's going on, like what's going on in our world, what's going on with our own bodies, like how are we feeling? Are my thoughts and feelings similar to this person's thoughts and feelings? And, with so many different things kind of going on now that, again, used to be taboo, I think it's important that these are important discussions to have. And it's just interesting to see that gradual shift in television where we're seeing more diversity and hopefully continue to see more. We're seeing so many different conversations being had, because another one, currently that I could kind of compare this show to is Grownish. I started getting into that show, say about a year or two ago, kind of when COVID happened. And you've got groups of, different minorities and just people talking about different issues, and they don't all agree, but they talk about them and they try to understand what's going on from each person's point of view. And I think that's really interesting in today's time. Like, we really need to, we might not all agree, but we need to understand, okay, where is this person coming from? And how can I help understand that in my own way, as well as still help them understand where I'm coming from, instead of it being an argument, where I think in some cases that's where communication, especially when it comes to, I'm going to say politics, that's where I see a lot of arguments being had. It's not just a conversation, it's arguing. And so that's where I think it's good to see this change, and it's good to have a conversation like this in a media that a lot of, I'd say, young adults and even adults themselves can get into and realize, okay, this is how I can maybe grasp a concept or even communicate something myself, instead of it coming off maybe a different way than it had before. So that's just a quick thoughts from me. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe if you want, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.